Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to the Our Voices, Our Vote Voter Education Seminar for this evening. My name is Candace Wicks, and I'm a resident of District 3. It is my honor to serve as the Voter Education Chair for this illustrious organization. On behalf of Casey Thomas, our founder, and the leadership team, I welcome you this evening. It is an honor and privilege to be here to share with the constituents of the Dallas County about the 17 amendments, constitutional amendments that we will be addressing tonight. At this time, I would like to turn it over to our moderator for this evening, who is our former Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Dallas, representing District 8, the Honorable Eric Wilson.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you all for being here. It is good to be, I would say, we'll take this from a church standpoint, it is good to be in the house alive. It is good to be seen. I thank you all for coming out on this auspicious occasion. And when I say that, it's because we are talking about something that is very important to our communities, whether we believe it or not. And it's not just from the simple fact of voting, but from the propositions that are out there. Now, how many of you all know, how many times do you have to hear or see something before you remember it?
17 times.
17 times. So with that, each one of us, who's not on social media? Okay, good. So with that being said, I suspect at some point in time, you should have your phone out recording this, because guess what? While you may not be a national influencer, you are a community influencer. People listen to what you say, and one of our biggest advocates is you. Okay? So at some point in time, take a picture, post it out, tell people that they have an election, because I promise you, if I walked outside, stopped traffic, the first 10 cars wouldn't know that there's an election coming up. Now, but with your influence, the people that you influence and have in your social sphere, we have an opportunity to educate our populace. We often know this as a former elected official, and elected officials in here, we'll introduce them shortly. You understand that this election oftentimes is the lowest voter turnout. And why is that?
People don't know. You don't get the word out.
And
Don't
it's not
know.
a presidential
You got the
election.
word out.
It's not a presidential election. And it's often said, and we'll talk about from our esteemed strategist, often intellectual elections are often the lowest turnout. There's no boogeyman. It's all words. So with that being said, I want to introduce our panelists, but before we do that, I want to give the audience an opportunity to introduce themselves. We have some elected officials here, so if you would, I'll give you this moment to introduce yourself. I think some of you all may be running for re-election or running for office, and you kind of want people to know who you are, so I give you that opportunity. We'll start on the left.
Well, I'm Cheryl Williams, judge for the City of Dallas for 25 years, and now I'm running for the County Court of Criminal Appeals number 2, which is a misdemeanor court that hears appeals from justice and municipal courts. So I'm qualified.
Well, good evening. My name is Tracy Gully. I'm your constable for Dallas County Precinct 1. I've been with the constable's office for 27 years. I've been, this will be my 3rd consecutive term as the elected official. So I am honored to be in this position. I work alongside the amazing Judge Valencia Nash and Judge Thomas G. Jones at Precinct 1. And I am up for re-election. I would appreciate your support.
All right. Anyone else? Board of Commissions, we already, yes?
I'm Candace Wicks, and I am the former vice chair of the Dr. Martin Luther King Center Advisory Board, representing District 3, and I am recently appointed to the Disability Board, so I'm a new commissioner for that board.
All right. Now, without further ado.
See
I
that?
didn't introduce myself.
Oh, by all means. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Nether, by all means.
Lord. Been very active for over close to 50 years in politics, and so certainly I'm a community person.
All right.
Okay, awesome.
And ma'am?
Oh, hi, I'm Iman. I am just here for information. I'm a community member.
Welcome, welcome. Sir?
Thank you. My name is Nick Hawkins. I'm a student at Dallas College, but I also have the pleasure of serving as the parliamentarian for the Dallas-Fort Worth Urban League Young Professionals and on the National Advocacy and Action Committee.
Okay. And sir, in the back, who just snuck in?
Yeah, Ben Brown with the Dallas president of the ACP.
All right, and last but not least, our cameraman.
Oh my goodness. C.W. Whitaker, former Dallas County, former Dallas Park and Recreation, former Dallas Zoo, former Bishop Arts Theaterson. I gotta leave that, or Teresa will get me.
Yes. Well, thank each and every one of you all for being here. Now, I'll turn it over to our esteemed panel. These individuals that you have before you are some of the brightest minds in the city of Dallas at what they do. I was excited about when this was presented and the panel was presented. These individuals are some of the individuals that I look up to and what they can do and do for our community. They're the biggest, they're the brightest, and they're the best at what they do. So they have a wealth of knowledge that they'll present to us. And without further ado, I'll allow them to introduce themselves, and we'll go ladies first.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm Valencia Nash. I'm Justice of the Peace for Precinct 1, Place 2 here in Dallas County since 2007. I've enjoyed the position as the first African-American female Justice of the Peace here in Dallas County, and I enjoy serving. This is my community, born and raised here in Highland Hills, so I'm glad to be here.
Okay, thank you. I'm Randall Bryant. I'm a native of Dallas, and currently serve on the Democratic National Committee. I'm a political strategist. I've done over 70 some odd local, state, and federal races here in Dallas County, and have some other titles, but because we're talking politics, so I'll leave those out for tonight. But I'm glad to be here and share information with you all today.
Last but not least.
Daniel Davis Clayton. I have 13 years with the Texas legislature. I worked in the Texas Senate for 7 years, and I served as the chief of staff for 3 legislative cycles, including the last 89th legislative session. I also worked within the Democratic Party, at the state Democratic Party, as well as the local Dallas County and the Tarrant County Democratic Parties. I was the first African-American executive director for both of those. So, and I'm a small business owner and public. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, I would be remiss if I did not allow our attendees who just walked in to be able to introduce themselves before we get started. If you would mind, just tell us who you are, and if you're a candidate, if you're running for anything, just so that people know who you are.
Judge Jones, get started.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's indeed a blessing to be here. I am Thomas G. Jones, the judge and the justice of the peace for Precinct 1, Place 1. And I'm here to support my mentor, Judge Valencia Nash, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1, Place 2. One of the hardest working judges in Dallas County. We are protected by the best, the most skilled and trained constable in Dallas County.
Bring it on.
Y'all serious? Y'all serious?
We'll pay you on Tuesday.
Constable Tracy Good.
Right.
And I am running for re-election, so remove all doubt. I am running for re-election to be Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1, Place 1. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Yetta Mullen, former judge and running for judge again.
Hi, I'm Jen Gray Clark. I am a U.S. citizen and I'm coming for information.
All right. And sir, you just name it just a little bit about yourself?
Oh yeah,
I ain't seen you.
Okay.
Listen.
Whoa,
That's Dave's son, yeah.
hold on, really?
Yeah. Man, that's how you used to do me.
Okay, we ain't starting on
I did
that.
that for the first time in my life.
All right, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here, and we want to say yes, go ahead.
And I am here to support my sword.
welcome to everybody. We want to say thank you for Oak Cliff for allowing us to be here in this space and be able to share this information. Again, we want to thank our panelists for being here tonight talking about spilling the tea on the Texas constitutional amendments. Ooh, what does that mean? We'll get into that. It's exciting. All right, so tonight's conversation isn't just about policy, but it's about people, power, and participation, okay? We'll have a chance to ask our panelists questions. They'll get a chance to answer those, and we may have a time to ask questions from the audience. But as we get started, we want to let each panelist know that now that you've introduced yourself, just tell me one thing, about yourself that led you to be who you are.
Well, I grew up on drugs.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother drugged me all across this city. And thus here I am today. One thing.
Okay, all right, one thing.
Well, I would say just my upbringing in Highland Hills, raised by parents that were educators. You know, I always wanted to make sure that I gave back to my community. So, again, I love public service. I'm not a politician at all. I don't consider myself as such, but public service is just where I have to be.
For myself, I grew up in Sand Flat, Texas, less than 800 people. And I'd like to share that I tell people I grew up in the 60s. When I walked through downtown, my grandmother would tell me to look down at the ground, as not to make eye contact, because that was dangerous for us, even in the 80s. So that was the environment I grew up in, and I understood the type of injustice that our communities were facing at a very minute level, and pledged myself to fight those things.
All right, so let me ask this question. Well, before we begin, I always like to ask simple questions and introduction questions, because oftentimes we get a chance to be in front of people and we don't really know who they are. I want you to be able to connect with them, not intellectually, but for who they are, and recognize they're just like us. Okay? So with that, so who in here? How many amendments are we voting on?
17.
17.
I got it already.
All right then.
Y'all want to come up here?
Yeah, y'all want to come up here? Yeah. So with that being said, we're going to ask the panelists questions and kind of how you want to go with this in terms of asking questions about each one or grouping them together, because they range the gamut from across the state in terms of from the wealthy to school districts to institutional education. So there's a gamut of questions. So we'll just start off with the first proposition. Okay? And if you have a pamphlet, a packet that was passed out, it should have the proposition.
They have.
Okay, all right. So ballot one, the language says the constitutional amendment providing for the creation and a permanent technical institution infrastructure fund and available workforce education fund to support capital needs of educational programs offered by the Texas State Technical College System. In other words, translated, a simple way of putting it, this amendment would create a dedicated fund outside the normal general revenue to invest in capital, such as buildings, facilities, improvements, and infrastructure for Texas State Technical College. It is meant to help fund physical campus needs and workforce education. So let me ask this question. Why might people favor creating a special infrastructure fund for technical colleges? What problems do you see in doing this, and what does it solve? So that's the first question to our panel. And who would like to take that?
I can join in on that, but if I could back up just a second, right? I think it's important for us to kind of understand why are we voting on constitutional amendments before we kind of dive into what constitutional amendments are we voting on, right? I don't know what documents you all have, and I know my brother here who actually worked in the ledge. I never worked in the ledge, but when the legislature convenes for those 140 days, They vote on joint resolutions either offered by the Senate or by the House. And if those require constitutional amendments to actually, for those approvals to become law, then we have to, it's up to the voters to have the final decision on it, right? And so that's the why we're doing this. They pass laws, they vote down laws throughout that duration of 140 days, but then there are some that require voter approval. And that's kind of the discussion that we'll go through on the 17th, right? I'm kind of like I stated earlier, one that believes in phoning friends and taking advice from those that are actually in the fold. So some of you all may know that State Representative Yvonne Davis put out a voter guide. I think Aisha Davis, State Representative Aisha Davis put out one today. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, State Representative Victor Jones is putting out one next week. I haven't seen any conflict between the two, of the two state representatives that cover the district that most of us live in or know people in. So I'm gonna take most of my advice on offering advice today from those two. I believe State Representative Ben Jones will offer the same, right? So just kind of disclaiming that as we kind of go through. But on the technical, trade schools, when you look at Dallas ISD, the CTE program, career technical education program that they have, we know that, our kids, our scholars, our students have to have multiple options once they get out of high school. And, investing into those programs, I'll try not to tell you how I know this, because that might give away something, but DART actually will be soon unveiling bus operations as a career program to try to create pipelines straight from Dallas ISD to DART through that program. And so, things like this, funds like these, we should be supporting.
All right, and I'll just pipe in, every child is not gonna go to college, we know that. And so the bottom line with this is that we need to have other options. And we're living in a place of technological, where we have to have advancements. And again, Walmart has their own technical a big old facility out in Lancaster where they are training so that those kids are making like $80,000. So again, it is very important that we have other options because not every child is gonna go to college. And again, as a judge, we don't really weigh in on political questions. I was really honored to be here, so I have to make my own disclaimer in that I like what Randall said. So I have Yvonne's study here. I listened in last night for those of you who were on the webinar. It was really good. It was about an hour and a half. They had state reps from here, and they had reps from Houston. And so they weighed in on all 17 of these. Senator West was on there, but it was good information. Some of them are going to agree on most of them, but some may not. So I would say that you need to read these. But what I like mostly is every time we have a constitutional amendment or propositions on the ballot, they're very convoluted. And it's very difficult to read. So hopefully all of you got this, but on the last page I printed out the ballot. And when you go to the polls and you see a ballot like that, it becomes very intimidating if you haven't read it before. So I want to make sure that you read through these, and it just has a description. It doesn't weigh in, but you get to decide when you read through this information that you can be prepared for the ballot. And that ballot, again, all that language, it becomes intimidating for a lot of people, especially our seniors. But again, if you have a state rep that you believe in, if it's, my state rep is Tony Rose, if yours is Yvonne Davis, like my sister back there, or, someone else, Aisha Davis, then weigh in, look at what they have, and weigh in on whether you have the belief that those things are good. So for me, I'm a legal person. So when we get to those things like bail reform and judicial conduct commission, those are more of what I can really get into. I'm going to let them talk about any kind of capital gains because for me, that's for wealthy folks. I'm a government lawyer. I'm a government person. So I'm right, yes. So I won't be able to weigh in on much of that, but I'll do the best I can to at least try to dissect what it is that you may be confused about, because that's the problem I have with a lot of whoever writes these. They are not using clear, plain language. We could just say, and a lot of times we'll say, vote no or vote yes. You know, that may be very simple for you, but then the ballot has for or against.
Right.
And I'm a person that says, say what it says, so that people are not confused. You know, again, people have dyslexia. There are sometimes the minds don't always really think, you know, as simple as you think it should. So I'm just telling you that let us help you dissect it. If there is a question about it, let's see. And I know we have some brilliant people in the audience too that can help us as well. But as for this, again, college is not for everyone. So again, I can see why Yvonne Davis said to support the effort, because again, it sounds like a great idea for those who may not be going to college institutions.
First I'd like to just talk a little bit about how some of our higher education institutions are funded. There is the Higher Education Fund, the HEF, and it is, money is placed by the state legislature into this fund, and then that fund is managed by the state comptroller. And they invest those dollars. And the point is for them to invest well, bring money back to the state of Texas, and then use that money to invest. And so in this fund, all of these institutions, public institutions that of higher education are being funded. However, your technical college is only funded at 2.2% out of that fund, which is lower than all of the other colleges in the state. So they are not just inherently getting as much money as the other colleges. So over the years, because they're getting less money, they haven't had the same funding for their structures, their buildings, and all that. So now, a lot of their buildings are crumbling. They don't have the dollars to repair, and they don't have the dollars to replace equipment either. And so, recognizing that, the legislature said, okay, we've got to do something about it. So now they created 2 additional funds, and they're putting, I forget how much money into it, and they're putting money into it, and for this particular fund, they can only draw out $52 million a year, but they can draw that money out every year. So as long as that fund brings in at least $52 million, they'll draw that out. Anything else will go into general revenue. And so the technical college can use that for buildings. Our technical college has 11 campuses across the state, and it's the largest technical college for a state across the nation.
All right.
So in other words, we're gonna support this amendment, right?
That's
Yes.
what most of the state reps are saying to support.
Okay.
And just so you can kind of get an idea of our panelists, we have our strategist who's pretty much going to tell you what you should do.
That's my role.
That's his role. Judge Nash is going to tell you legally, make it plain, this is what it says. And then we have our political insider, where the sausage is made,
How we got here.
how we got here. So I wish that we would have more panels like this and diversity and being able to explain it, because different people have different perspectives and different learning styles and want to receive different information. So this right here is, like I told you before, these are some of the brightest minds in the city, and you're getting a chance to witness that. So what we're going to do is, I'm gonna let you ask your question. Okay. I kind of give you an idea how we're going to move forward in terms of grouping, because if you look at the amendments, all 17, you can group them into kind of 3 different areas. Okay, so if you grab your pen, you can kind of highlight these. The ones that deal with education, health, and infrastructure, they're going to be amendments 1, 4, 10, and 14. And for the people in the back getting their pens, I'll say it again. So under grouping of education, health, infrastructure, Proposition 1, 4, 10, and 14. Okay? The smallest proposition and grouping is going to be under justice, rights, and accountability. I wonder why. That's gonna be propositions 3, 12, 15, and 16. Again, 3, 12, 15, and 16.
Justice, rights, and what was that?
Justice, rights, and accountability. Now, I know this is a section that everybody's been waiting for.
12 and 16.
Yes, 3, 12, 15, and 16.
Okay.
And this is the one you're really interested in, the big baller section. The economic and tax equity amendments. Economic and tax equity amendments. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, 17. Mhm.
Economic tax and what?
2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, 17.
What was the, you said economic tax and what?
Economic and tax equity. Where your money is, where your heart is.
Okay.
All right? So you see that these amendments are heavily on taxes and equity, financial wealth. So with that, what I would like to do is ask our panelists, is there a particular amendment that you're particularly fond of that you would like to explain? Because otherwise we'd be here all night.
Right, right.
Well, I
So
definitely
I'm
want
gonna
to talk about bail.
give you that opportunity.
Yes. The second one, I mean, the
Yep.
third one.
The
Yeah.
third one. I want to talk about bail. So again, I know that this is something.
And what was that amendment again?
It's
Number
3.
Okay.
Yep, so number 3, did you want to, everybody should have it, I believe. So on number 3, the denial of bail for certain violent or sexual offenses punishable as a felony amendment. This is a very hot topic. I know I have a Judge Mullen in the back, and she does a lot of criminal cases. And so what I want y'all to think about is, yes, if you read the history of this bill, it gives now the accused a right to counsel. However, it really does lend itself to someone staying in jail for an unreasonable period of time. And again, we have always heard that you are what? Innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, it would just wipe that all away. So a lot of these amendments, we want to make sure that you're looking at the political aspect and whether these are politicized or not. And so you have to remember that, yes, in Dallas County, we enjoy judges who are fair and impartial, but not in every place in the state of Texas will you have that same type of deal. So when you look at this, and I will tell you that, of course, Yvonne Davis is saying she opposes that,
yeah.
and most of the reps from last night oppose this. Nicole Collier was the one speaking on it, and it really does have a lot of ramifications and consequences to a person who is sitting there accused of a crime. So again, does anybody have any particular questions on that? But I hope that you understand plainly that what we're saying is that this may not be a good idea. Judge?
I'm feeling like this is getting ready to create the new plantation. If you deny bail to all these people, you're gonna have to pay somewhere. And already Dallas County is full, okay? Sometimes we only have 10, 15, 20 beds available. This is mass incarceration to the 10th degree. And it's just another way to create the new foundation, a new plantation. And when they pack us all in together, then these private prisons are gonna kick in, build more prisons, and it's just gonna be more mass incarceration. So that's an absolute no.
So one of the things I want to point out is, this came along with a pay raise to our judges, okay? And they attached this to that pay raise. So yeah, judges calling in from all over the state, let's, get this thing done, but there's additional scrutiny, and they've been going after our judges because they've been lowering bail, they've been creating equitable situations within the criminal justice system. And so this is to short circuit our judiciary's ability to make their own decisions about bail. When they know that somebody is off the chain, they can set that bail as high they want to, and that person can't pay it, they can't get out. So what they're doing is they're saying, we're gonna dictate to you judges what to do and how to do it. And another thing to take note is that they are now requiring, if a judge does set bail, they're requiring that that judge write an explanation about that bail setting and why they set it that way, so that it is now in paper, and they can go back and they can pull that thing up and they can use it to go after those judges. They've been going after judges. They knocked out a bunch of judges in Houston, and they're using this to try to as a tool. It's a setup, is what it is. And it's set up for our community, but it's also set up for those judges to go after them and then try to remove them.
So that
And on
segues into the.
And on the face of you looking at, hey, we don't want any violent or people walking around here that have been accused of violent offenses. But what you have to realize is that judges do a whole list of looking at, have they had any previous convictions? Have they, done this before? So there's just a whole set of circumstances that are reviewed before you weigh in on what needs to happen. So we don't want to take that autonomy and that independence that judges have had for years. And so again, be very cautious about, when you vote on these things to see whether it's really political and what is the real thing that they're asking for.
And I'm gonna say something else about the campaign side. I mentioned what happened in Houston. What they did is they started running a whole bunch of commercials on TV talking about how they grouped them all together and said these judges are letting folk out on bail, and those people on bail are going out and committing heinous crimes. And they use it to paint everybody as soft on crime and that they're just letting folk go free. And that was the narrative they used. Also, we have nonprofit organizations that have been participating in bail reform actions and going out and bailing people out. And so some of those folks that have gotten bailed out by nonprofits have gone out and done, something else on, they went out and did something else. We have to be careful with our activism. We have to know what the setup is. If, I was participating in an organization that was doing this. And we were talking through the profiles of the people that we had that we could bail out. And I warned this group, I ain't gonna say the name, I'm a member of it, but I warned the group, I said, look, if somebody's committed a violent crime, we don't need to be the ones bailing them out now. Because if they go out and do something else, then they're going to say, look, these, liberal, blah, 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 whatever, are going out and releasing these violent criminals, and then we gotta crack down on it. So we have to see the setup and then work around the setup within the operational environment we're given. We have to be smart about what they're trying to do to us.
When he said that we were soft on crime, then if we didn't do 90% dispositions, he was gonna cut all of Dallas County money on the 1st of August if 90% of our cases were not disposed of. So how can you be soft on crime and all of a sudden you gotta have 90% dispo, or else all Dallas County money is gone? It's cut.
It's called fuzzy math.
There you go.
Let me say this, let's back up a little bit. Okay, who remember the first group of numbers that Eric called off? What were the first group of numbers that he said?
1, 14, and 14.
Okay, you call out 1.
Come on, Miss Dad.
Call out 4.
10 and 14.
And then he called 14.
Okay, vote yes for those.
Yep.
Now call out the second group of numbers. I'm gonna talk about the bail in just a second, but I'm gonna help y'all. Vote no on those. Now what's the third group? Okay, hold on, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. The first group, vote yes.
First group is 1, 4, 10, and 14.
And I didn't know he was gonna do this, but this is great. Okay, the second group is
3, 12, 15, and 16.
vote no. Now the third group, vote your pocket.
That's good.
Now it's just me here,
That's
okay?
good.
First group, vote yes. Second group, vote no. Third group, vote your pocket, because it's some that's going back and forth in that third group.
Yeah.
And you gotta have self-determination here. okay? Now, now, on the bail, which is in the no group, I'll just add this. Bail should never be used as a punishment, number one. You got people that are in Lucera right now that are exceeding the maximum time spent because they can't get bail and their case has not been heard.
There you go.
Now, let's remember, we started talking about this, that these are joint resolutions that were offered out of the House or the Senate that require voter approval. Now, let's never forget who controls the House and the Senate. Okay, now there are some of these that obviously are being supportive in nature that obviously some Democrats voted for. But all of them had to have had some Republicans offering them up and voting them through, or they would have never passed only with Democrats. Let's never forget how we got here, okay? And so I'll just offer that also on the bail. That was one of the ones I think is very important that, I mean, if nothing else on this fails, that one has to fail.
Well, the Judicial Conduct Commission, and I know the judges can appreciate that, you know, with how it's appointed. So there are 13 people on Judicial Conduct Commission. 6 of them are appointed by the governor. The other 7 are appointed by the Supreme Court Chief Justice. Now, disclaimer, I do sit on the Texas Judicial Council, which is the policy-making body for the state, and it is headed by the new Chief Justice, which is Chief Justice Blacklock. So I'm just meeting him. But the bottom line is, if you have them appointing, then it leaves other people out. So there will not be an appointment of a justice of the peace. Nicole Collier talked about this last night. And also, you would only get one, there is public admonishment, so you can get one. And after that, everything else is public, not private. So again, it tends to, again, be politicized, that if there is something going on and there is somebody that somebody doesn't like, then it could lend itself to you being publicly admonished, and it has a lot of consequences that can come with it. So again, not a good idea as far as the state reps are concerned. In terms of the parental rights, you know.
Can I add something to that? I think there's something that we need to pay attention to regarding the judicial situation. They have changed the rules on who sits on that panel. Okay, they changed the rules who sit on that panel. There were 2 seats on that panel that were essentially controlled or selected by the State Bar of Texas. They removed the State Bar of Texas altogether, okay? Before this bill passed, or before this, as it is today, the governor can place 5 people on this panel. The state board, the Supreme Court had 5, is that correct? And then the state bar had 2. So now the governor has 7. The governor has 7, and they're all citizens. They're all citizens. They're not. They don't have law degrees.
They don't know anything about it.
They don't know. So these are political appointments. So now but they kicked the Supreme Court up to 6, but the governor has 7. The Supreme Court is picking folks with law degrees. The governor isn't. So now it's a political circus. Now it's a political decision that's going to be made about these judges. So now you got a political decision being made. They make the first one and they say, okay, well, we're not going to say anything about it. That's your warning. That's your warning to get in line. Because everything else after that they say, these citizens that have no legal understanding, whatever they say, they're going to say it goes, because once we start hitting you with these complaints, then if our R's don't get you, then somebody on that D side is going to get you because they're hungry for your seat, and they're using it to beat people in line.
All right, so with that, now as you can see, wealth of knowledge, wealth of information, and we've only talked about 2 amendments. Really 2. So in the sake of time, we're gonna move forward, but I want to preface it this way. The information that you heard in terms of the grouping of the amendments, remember I told you the lowest voter turnout are always going to be what?
with information.
Information, intellectual elections. Always. So with that being said, you're not gonna see any signs, you're not gonna see any shirts, you're not gonna see people knocking on doors, you're not gonna have any phone calls. So the question is, how do we get this information that we have, that we're being presented tonight? Remember I told you, you are the greatest advocate for our community. We have social media. So with this information that you're receiving tonight, this knowledge that you're receiving, whether it's last night, tonight, please disseminate it to other individuals who are not here. Because I guarantee you, if you group it the way that we grouped it, and you use the phrasing that we use, it makes it easier and simple in terms of being able to vote and know what to vote. Because we know there's always Miss, you know her name, or Mr., you know his name, that's gonna call you and say, baby, what are we voting for? How do I vote? Okay? So with that being said, I want to preface that and how we move forward in terms of how do we message this so that our community is knowledgeable when they go in.
Well, first, we gotta make sure you know the election day. Okay.
It's Monday, we're gonna start Monday.
Yeah.
All right?
So on the 20th, October 20th is early voting. Last day is the 31st. So again, you gotta know when the elections.
That helps.
Because again, you got a lot of judges running, right? And so everybody thinks, oh, you're on the what, November ballot? And people are confused because when we mix things, people are not understanding that we're in the March primary. But you know, you gotta get started. But, you know, again, it becomes confusing to our neighbors when they don't really know the dates and what happens. So these are good things to email out or to hand out. But all this is online. And again, that sample ballot, give that to your senior citizen neighbor so that he or she can be prepared and ready to go when it's time. And that's just around the corner.
And how many times should they see it?
17.
All right.
I probably need to go to these churches and have that, because I went to a church, a Raffles United Methodist Church, they said a very informative to me. They broke each and every one of them down to the T.
All right.
Explained everything.
So with that, so the time that we have, we want to jump on another amendment. If you all have a
Yeah,
one.
I would just say one to definitely gotta support is 13, the property tax, homestead. You talk about generational wealth, you talk about protected homes, you talk about seniors, you talk about
13.
gentrification, you talk about all the things that are the hot buzzwords that we talk about. How do we protect ourselves from it? So increasing the homestead exemption from 100,000 to 140,000 would be, since we gave one to say we vote against, I just went off with one to definitely vote in support of, so we don't feel like we're some antagonist.
So I have a question, because it says the school districts. So does that take money out of the school districts? And I'm
It's
just
gonna raise
asking.
the cap, or it's gonna raise where the assessment
Right.
will start at.
It won't start at 100,
It
it'll
won't
start
start
at
at
140.
140,
So
yeah.
they take money from the school districts. I'm just asking that because I know that the state really wants to push vouchers. So I'm just curious.
Well, that would hurt that too, though.
They're gonna, okay.
I could kind of help with that. So in the case of this one, and there's another one, the one for the wives of disabled veterans that passed away. The state is obligated to replace those dollars, okay? So the state is supposed to say, we're gonna take money out of the general revenue fund and apply to here because you're losing this. And they're not gonna lose a whole bunch of money out of that. But the problem is, and you brought it up, vouchers. Because they use vouchers to suck money out of the system. And if you look at what happened in Colorado and some of these other states where they've already had vouchers, it snowballs into a monster very quickly. And, you know, Colorado can't balance their budget at the state level because of vouchers alone. And we just enacted it. So we say that the state is going to replace the money. But if the state ain't got the money, then the state doesn't replace the money. And then it does lower the amount that the schools are getting. I mean, schools are having to pass TREs across. You know, if you know about it, TREs are, you know, people go and they have to vote to tax themselves to put those dollars into people and programs in schools. There's a couple TRE elections going on around Dallas, the Dallas area. But they are underfunding these schools. This is a tool of it, but people also need tax relief, and, you know, there's a trade-off here, but we just have to keep in mind that there's a bigger picture with defunding our schools.
And Representative Yvonne Davis says that in her explanations is that the state should be replacing that.
Okay, that's good to know, thank you.
Now, I'm in real estate, so this, I'll say this plug. Now, I ask you this question, how does this affect our youth, our younger generation who are renters? How do we get them engaged in understanding what we're talking about here? Because grouping all these together in taxes equity, I just want to throw that out there as we answer it. How do we look at the messaging? How do we get them to understand that, hey, I'm a renter, so I don't have to worry about taxes? But
Renters pay taxes.
renters pay taxes.
They do.
They do. They don't understand it, but they don't get the benefit of paying the tax.
It's not only that they don't understand it, that those that are homeowners try to create a stigma, you know, an empowerment moment for them, an emboldened moment for them to say, I'm a property tax, I'm a taxpayer. Everyone in this room is a property taxpayer.
That's correct.
You're paying it in your mortgage, or you're paying it as a pass-through through your landlord that you rent from, and you don't get any credit for it. So you actually, you're doing all the work and getting nothing out of it, which is even a greater accomplishment than, you know, Highland Park Grandioso person trying to just be like, I'm a taxpayer. Yeah, and you're getting the full benefit of it on your taxes as well. And the renter that's doing it solely off their backs is not getting any of those end of year taxes benefits off of it as well. And so that's to that point. I think to your other point as far as how do we message it, I mean, we have to message it in the same realms that we message all of our voting outreach opportunities. I think it's best, kind of given the way we talk about grouping them, I think that most people will agree on as far as what's in the best interest of those in this room, okay? Where the yeses are, and where the nos are, and where the kind of the back and forth is, and again, I think it's just going back to kind of taxes, it's going back to what's in the best interest of your pockets, and that's different from everybody. I got $5, so, you know, that's different from everybody on what's best for them. But I think, by and large, what we can agree on what's most impactful to the grander community or how we grouped them earlier, and they should be, you know, pushed as such, in my opinion.
And just don't forget that, you know, making sure that these aren't politicized. We already know that you can't vote if you're not a citizen. So some of these things are just, you know, you're just wondering, why are they here?
Yeah, right.
Why is it on here? And the same thing with parental rights, you know, as a family lawyer,
Right.
it's already laid out in the statutes for the family code and all of that. So again, parents have autonomy, but you want to make sure that this is not leading to something else down the road, which Daniel alluded to in terms of just, you know, the clarification may be a step to push an agenda. And so we just want to make sure you're cautious.
And lest we forget it, and Daniel can talk about this at length, you know, bills are authored and passed by politicians. They have to create flyers to tell their voters when they ran for re-election all the great things they did for 140 days. We look at them and say all the stupid things you did for 140 days. But they have to appeal to their base as well, and so they offer bills and they pass bills that make absolutely no sense, that do nothing actually to most case law, just so that they can have some talking points to go on their campaign literature when they run every 2 years.
So I did want to, I think we're all kind of picking two. So my two was citizen voting, and then it's going to be the healthcare one. So I'm just going to add just a little bit to that citizenship voting. They know, and we know, that if you're not a citizen, you can't vote. So why is it here? Okay? It's here because it's red meat. It's here to send a signal to people who don't understand how this works. Because people who don't understand how it works and they want to buy into it, they think, oh, well, if we have people who are not citizens that are voting, it must be happening, because if not, it wouldn't be on our ballot to stop it.
Right.
And it plays into this narrative that's of hate against immigrants, that's being used to justify these ICE raids and the maltreatment of folks. And quite frankly, from my perspective, the effort to push certain communities back into a state of slavery. We are going backwards. We are losing our rights quickly. And every session, they draw back some of the voting rights. Every session.
And it could feel
Every session.
intimidating as well to a
Absolutely.
person who, you know, has come over.
And they're chipping at it. So we fight and we try to stop it and we lose and we like, okay, well, it's just that little bit, but they keep doing it over and over again. You actually look at redistricting. So we have to look at the big picture, we have to look at the long con, okay? Because that's what it is. But the other one I wanted to talk about was number 14, healthcare, the establishing the Dementia Prevention and Research Institute of Texas Amendment. My grandmother had dementia, my mom's a nurse, and basically in all of the work I've done, I've had some intersection with healthcare. So this one's real close to me. You know, the state of Texas did the same thing with cancer. That's the reason that we have the Houston corridor, you know, MD Anderson, and all of the research that's getting done there, all the breakthroughs that are getting done there. We have Nobel Prize winners in Texas, in Houston, working on cancer because the state chose to make a huge investment to try to make a difference. This is probably the best thing that's on this ballot, and it will help all kinds of folks, and this is a good one.
All right, so with the amount of time we have, I want to at least allow the audience to ask at least one question.
I know, Mr. Bryant said 13. What are your thoughts on 10? Okay, can you explain that?
I have 10 under support. I'm not too familiar with it. I don't know if anybody else.
It reduces the taxes if your house is for.
It's, yeah, by fire, yeah.
Yeah.
So that you're not paying taxes.
Oh, I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, I'm sorry. I got it wrong. I'm sorry. Number 11 is what I was intending to say.
Oh, yeah, that's a support.
Yeah.
From State Representative Davis, she is saying to support that because of the elderly and disabled. You want to make sure that they are not overly taxed, but that it's had some relief, some tax relief.
That's me, that's me.
We support Ms. Nessa.
I'm sorry, this young man had his hand up and I'll come back to this one.
Yes, so I'm a financial advisor, so I intimately understand the capital gain and estate tax exemptions. What concerns me is two things, is in order for these amendments to even get to a ballot, they need 2/3 vote in the House. So the Republicans do have a majority, but they don't have a 2/3 majority. So with some of these concerning amendments, I'm interested to know what the rationale is from the Democrats that got behind these bills. And then for the tax-related amendments, they're trying to preempt things that aren't even currently enacted. And the concern of somebody who's a 25-year-old who has hopefully a long life of being a Texan ahead of him, you mentioned vouchers are a sinking hole that cause deficits. So we're running a surplus now, but 40, 50 years from now, we might not. And if we need to levy taxes such as capital gains or estate tax at the state level, we would then have to do a referendum, or how would we go about reversing this damage that could be done by these two amendments passing?
So I'll jump in. First of all, to undo it, you gotta redo it, okay? So just like we have to take it to the people, if they pass it, then we have to pass it in the legislature and then take it to the people and pass it again. What they're doing, y'all know they're setting up a stock exchange in Texas, right? And so, and it's in Dallas. So what the state of Texas has always prided itself on is being this hub for financial growth, for industry, et cetera, and this is a part of that. So in order to reinforce that idea, they are saying, okay, all of these, and you're right, half of the tax, 3/4 of the tax issues on here are non-existent. They are taxes that do not exist in the state of Texas, yet we're passing, or they're gonna try to pass constitutional amendments to ban them for ever being available as a tool. But the reason that they're doing it is to send a signal across not only the state of Texas, not only across America, to the world, to say we are going to create an environment where you have the flexibility to move the way you want to move, and make the way you want to make and shake the way you want to shake, just come on into Texas. So they're doing it to say, y'all come on, bring your Fortune 500 business. Bring your financial institution right here because you can build in a way that you can't build in another state. That's the reason that they're doing it. And it reinforces this, we're going to abolish taxes, which is a narrative of the Republican agenda.
And I'll take the front half of because it's dovetailing off of that. Be real clear in the Democratic Party, as a member of the DDC, we pride ourselves being a melting pot and diverse people. So not everyone within the Democratic Party has the same mind track. There are some members of the Democratic Party that were broke horn. There are some members of the Democratic Party that came back real quick. Okay? So, across the 62 or 63 House members that there are, they're not all of the same mindset. They're not all from the same geography-based regions. And when you talk about attracting new business, we'll love to say Texas, but then there are people within Texas that say, RGV over Dallas, or Houston over Panhandle, right? And so, there are economic grabs and opportunities that people are always trying to take within certain factions that we think more holistically, everyone within the Democratic Party has to be the same. That's not the truth.
Yeah, deals get cut.
Right.
I worked to the bill 13 years. That's how the process works.
Right.
You put everything on the table, what you want, and you don't say what you really want out loud, because if they know what you want, they know where to grab you by. And then you try to pass all your bills, and then, there are also fights that occur between the Senate and the House.
Sure.
I'll tell you something funny about this session. This session, we gave the card away in the House, okay? Because the first thing that we did, the governor said, I want vouchers passed. That was the first thing the House did. We passed vouchers, sent it back to the Senate, they passed it, it was done. And then they brought up public education. We should have held on the vouchers, even though the governor wanted it, he would have been mad. We should have held on the vouchers in the House, got our public education bill out over to the Senate, and say, pass the stuff and we'll pass your stuff. But see, we had already given it away, so we didn't have any leverage. Every session, there's a war between the House and the Senate. And I'll tell you, one of the sessions,
We're also party.
the Speaker of the House, when Representative Rose, I was working for her at the time as our Chief of Staff, when we passed the bill for maternal mortality, okay, got stuck in the Senate. The Speaker of the House, he's a Republican, he shut the House down for 2 days. And we all went home. And the Senate was over there working. It happens all the time. The House is shut down. They'll say, hey, you're not moving our stuff? All right, we're finna go home, y'all. And we'll see you later. And we're gonna come back in a few days and see what you think. Because at the end of the legislative session, every moment counts. Okay? And you'll wish you had all that time back that you had in the first couple of weeks, because bills die by the second.
All right, so with that being said, I would love to be able to continue our discussion. I don't want to be kicked out of here, and I don't want to be my fault, but I think you got a quick question. You have a quick question?
I do. So I just need the answers to section 13. How would you go in section 13? That's 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and now 17, because we got 11 and 13.
13 is a support.
I got it.
Okay.
We have 11 and 17, they're both supports. But what I would like to know is the 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 17.
The ones I said.
That's all section 3. You said do both those with your pocket.
With your pocket, right?
Right.
Right.
I don't know your pocket.
All right, so
And sometimes I don't either.
so as a wrap up, let me give you those groupings again, and you can tell me yes or no in those groupings. 1, 4, 10, and 14 is a
Yes.
Yes.
3, 12, 15, 16,
No.
and the rest 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, 17.
That's your pocket.
All right.
Look at your state rep's website and get the information from Aisha Davis, Yvonne Davis, Tony Rose. Look at your state rep's information, and I know that you support them because you got them in office, and go with that.
And with that being said, never look a gift horse in the mouth and not get something in return. This is a wealth of knowledge here. Please come up to them, give them a round of applause.
All right.
Keep their contact information, have a further discussion with that. And with that being said, thank you, good night, thank you all for coming out and be safe.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Mr. Eric Wilson.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, before you leave, if you are on Facebook, go to our organization's webpage, our Facebook page.
And what's our webpage?
Facebook page, Our Voices, Our Vote. We do have our own Facebook page. And Aisha, the state representative Aisha Davis's scorecard on those 17 amendments is already on there. Okay, we'll see y'all again next month.